The Torah portion for this week is alotkha, when you set up. It's Numbers 8:1 through 12:16. Let's begin. Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell Aharon, when you set up the lamps, that 7 lamps are to cast their light forward in front of the menorah." Aharon did this. He lit his lamp so as to give light in front of the menorah, as Elohim had ordered Moshe. Here is how the menorah was made. It was hammered gold from its base to its flowers, hammered work following the pattern Elohim had said to Moshe. This is how he made the menorah. Once again the lights, the menorah. This set of candlesticks, the lights, which represent you, are to face the front of the menorah. The light in the center, that's the servant light. It represents Elohim. It is used to light all of the other lights. But the lights on the side represent you, represent your tribe, represent your people. Are you setting up your lights to shine outside, beyond where you are? Are you letting your light shine to others? Or has your light grown dim? You can always reignite your light with Elohim. Verse 23 reads, Elohim said to Moshe, "These are the instructions concerning the Leviim. When they reach the age of 25, they are to begin performing their duties, serving in the tent of meeting. And when they reach the age of 50, they are to stop performing their work and not serve any longer. They will assist their brothers who are performing their duties in the tent of meeting, but they themselves will not do any work." This is what you are to do with the Leviim in regard to their duties. The Leviim were to stop working at 50. They were to start working at 25. Are we adhering to this today? Or do we have older rabbis who should step down? This is one that the scholars should discuss. The Hebrew says, "And Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, This is what belongs to the ones of Lewi. From a son of 25 years and upward, he will come to muster the army in the service of the appointment tent. And from a son of 50 years, he will turn back from the army of the service, and he will not serve again. He will minister to his brothers in the appointed tent to safeguard the charge, and he will not serve a service. Like this way you will do to the ones of Lewi concerning their custodies." Chapter 9 begins, Elohim spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert in the first month of the 2nd year, after they had left the land of Egypt. He said, "Let the people of Israel observe Pesach at its designated time, on the 14th day of this month. At dusk, you are to observe it. At its designated time, you are to observe it according to its regulations and rules." Moshe told the people of Israel to observe Pesach. So they observed Pesach at dusk on the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert. And the people of Israel acted in accordance with all that Elohim had ordered Moshe. The people were to observe Pesach. It was a command from Elohim. Are you observing Pesach this year? Are you observing Pesach at the correct time? Are you observing Pesach in the right way? Think about this. Are you observing Pesach according to Elohim? Or are you observing Pesach according to custom? Are the customs correct? Or should you look further into how the scriptures say you should observe Pesach? Verse 6 says, "But there were certain people who had become unclean because of someone's corpse, so that they could not observe Pesach on that day. So they came before Moshe and Aharon that day and said to him, 'We are unclean because of someone's corpse. But why must we be kept from bringing the offering for Elohim at the time designated for the people of Israel?' So Moshe answered them, 'Wait so that I can hear what Elohim will do concerning you. Elohim said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel, if any of you now or in future generations is unclean because of corpse, or if he is on a trip abroad, nonetheless he is to observe Pesach, but he will observe it in the 2nd month on the 14th day at dusk. They are to eat it with the matzah and maror. They are to leave none of it until morning. They are not to break any of its bones. They are to observe it according to all the regulations of Pesach. But the person who is clean and not on a trip, who fails to observe Pesach, will be cut off from his people, because he did not bring the offering for Elohim at its designated time. The person will bear the consequences of his sin. If a foreigner is staying with you and wants to observe Pesach to Elohim, he is to do it according to the regulations and rules of Pesach. You are to have the same law for the foreigner as for the citizen of the land. The Torah says observing Pesach is a regulation. It's a Shabbat. Are you keeping Pesach according to the rules? Or have you strayed? Think on this. Can you be considered holy in his presence? Or have you been spiritually cut off due to your actions? Chapter 11 reads, "But the people began complaining about their hardship to Elohim. When Elohim heard this, his anger flared up, so that fire from Elohim broke out against them and consumed the outskirts of the camp. Then the people cried to Moshe. Moshe prayed to Elohim, and the fire abated. That place was called Tavera, burning, because Elohim's fire broke out against them. Next, the mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy for an easier life, while the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed their weeping and said, If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt. It cost us nothing. And the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. But now we're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this man." Also translated to manna. The man, by the way, was like coriander seed and white like gum resin. The people would go around gathering it and would grind it up in mills and pound it to paste with mortar and pestle. And they would cook it in pots and make it into loaves. Make it into loaves that taste like cakes, baked with olive oil. And when the dew settled on the camp during the night, the man came with it. This shows us that Torah is not written chronologically, but is to serve as a guide for life. The people were complaining even though Elohim had provided. Isn't that just like us? We complain, we kvetch, even though Elohim has provided for us, for all of our needs, and he continues to provide. Just as he provided manna for the people in the wilderness, should we continue to complain, or should we give him praise? The Hebrew says, "And the mixed multitude that is in among him, they will yearn a yearning, and they will turn back, and they will weep. Also the sons of Israel. And they said, Who will make us eat flesh? We remember the fish, which we freely ate in Mitzrayim, the cucumbers and the melons, the herbage, and the onions and garlic. And now our souls are dry, without anything except Mahan. Before and the Mahan, he is like coriander seed, and his eyes is like the eyes of amber." The people went and they picked it up, and they ground it in the millstone, and they ground it to pieces with the mortar and pestle, and they boiled it in the skillet, and they made it into baked breads. And his flavor is like the flavor of fresh oil. I truly enjoy teaching this part. Did you know that Maha, or manner, is wihaman? And actually, there is no meaning for this word in the English language. It can mean stringent instrument, from, or portion. Some say it means, what is that? The definition that was given is from the Greek. So the question we have to ask is, what is maha, or manna? And manna, or maha, as we call it, provided everything that was needed by the children of Israel for a day's journey. Elohim supplied this. Elohim supplied them with nourishment, and supplements and vitamins and all that was needed for sustenance. And they complained. Isn't this much like us? What do we have to complain about when Elohim has provided everything? Like, share, and subscribe to the Faith Network and continue to follow the guidance of Elohim.